Good evening. The meeting for the Winthrop Town Council for February 18th, 2014 is now called to order. Would all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Councilor Cowell?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence. This past week, we lost one of our local physicians, Dr. Peter Farino, almost 100 years old. He was waiting to celebrate his 100th birthday, and he passed away very peacefully. He was a classy guy that a lot of people got a lot of help from. Also, 3 weeks ago, we lost Paul Fasella, who was a longtime Winthrop resident who was probably the largest supporter of WHS scholarships over the years. He gave a very significant donation every year to the Winthrop Scholarship Fund. So I'd like to take a moment of silence for both those gentlemen. Thank you. Council Clerk Quist, would you call the roll?
Councilor Callow? Present. Councilor Sanford?
Here.
Councilor Boncory?
Here.
Councilor Barone?
Here.
Councilor Boyajin?
Here.
Councilor Mayo? Vice President Del Vento?
Yes.
President Gill?
Present.
Councilor Terry?
Yeah. The minutes of the February 4th meeting is circulated.
Motion.
Motion by Councilor Sanford, seconded by Vice President Del Vento. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you. If there's no objection, I'd like to make a motion to take waive the rules and take the appointment of for the Board of Health out of order. Is there any? Could I have a motion to do that?
Motion.
Motion by Vice President Del Vento, seconded by Councilor Calla. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you. At this point, I'd like to introduce Tracy Honan and Heather Engman, both of whom I'd like to appoint to the Board of Health. As you know, recently we had a passing of Jim
Little.
Jim Little. Oh my Lord, I can't remember. who had been on the Board of Health, and subsequent to that, we had the resignation of Bridget Mulcairn Coney, and so we have suddenly have two openings, and we have two very highly qualified applicants who I am proud to and thrilled to nominate for and to appoint to the Board of Health. So first off, I would like to appoint Tracy Honan, and I ask for a vote to approve the appointment of Tracy Honan, effective immediately, expiration of term date of June 30th, 2016.
So moved.
Motion by Councilor Boncory, seconded by Councilor Calla. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Welcome, Tracy, and thank you for accepting the responsibility. You have been you've been a great asset to the Board of Health, and we appreciate that you're going to be there for the reorganization of the whole department. Heather Engman, and again, it's my pleasure to appoint Heather, a relatively new Winthrop resident, but very, very dedicated to our community and very good candidate. Great background, both in education-wise and employment-wise, present and past. So I would like to appoint Heather to the Winthrop Board of Health as well. Do I have a motion? Motion by Councilor Callis, seconded by Vice President Del Vento. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you. Heather, welcome. Thank you for letting us take Heather away, because we're going to be tying her up for some hours. Thank you again, Ms. Honan and Ms. Engman. Okay, moving back to the agenda. Public hearing on the middle high school loan order, a continuation of the public hearing that we had at the February 4th meeting. And I will again read the text. That it's ordered that the order of this council adopted on November 19, 2013, providing funds for the middle high school building project, so-called, is hereby amended in its entirety to provide as follows: that the town appropriates the sum of $80,918,740 for the purpose of paying the costs of the so-called middle high school building project, which includes the demolition and removal of the existing high school building and associated facilities at 400 Main Street, Winthrop, Massachusetts, and the design, construction, furnishing, and equipping of a new combined middle high school related facilities at the same location, including the payment of all costs incidental or related thereto, the project, which school facility shall have the anticipated useful life as an educational facility for the instruction of school children for at least 50 years, for which the town may be eligible for a grant from the Mass School Building Authority, and said amount to be expended under the direction of the School Building Committee. To meet this appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the town manager, is authorized to borrow said amount under Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, or pursuant to any other enabling authority. The town acknowledges that the MSBA's grant program is a non-entitled discretionary program based on need as determined by the MSBA, and any project cost the town incurs in excess of any grant approved by and received from the MSBA shall be the sole responsibility of the town, provided further that any grant that the town may receive from the MSBA for the project shall not exceed the lesser of, number one, 59.97% of eligible approved cost as determined by the MSBA, or two, the total maximum grant amount determined by the MSBA, and that amount of borrowing authorized pursuant to this vote shall be reduced by any grant amount set forth in the project funding agreement that may be executed between the town and the MSBA, or take any action relative thereto. Is there anybody that would like to speak at the public hearing on this motion? If not, the hearing is closed. Thank you. That was quick. Assessors report. Paul Tierney. Paul is the assessor for the town of Winthrop, for those of you who aren't familiar with who he is. And Paul is going to give us a report regarding re-evaluation of the community. Paul?
Good evening. As Mr. Gill just said, I'm Paul Tierney. I'm the assessor for the town of Winthrop. And as some of you may know, every town has to go through a revaluation every 3 years from the Department of Revenue. We sent out some bids to have some contractors give us a quote of what it might cost. And all we're asking for is to use some free cash, transfer some free cash over to our budget now so we can get the project started and make sure we're done on time. That's really all.
Okay.
Just asking for a transfer of cash
Very good. And it's, as you said, it's something that needs to be done every 3 years.
every 3 years.
And we have traditionally contracted out, and we just want to do that again, so you look for the appropriation. Tim?
I just want to point out, so this is something that it's online in the cycle for next fiscal year. So what we're doing here is we're getting if we wait till July 1, as Paul has pointed out to me, it becomes tight for getting the recap completed and getting the reval done by December. So by funding a piece of it now, it's really a piece that we will not include in the fiscal year 15 budget.
So the 25 grand is what part of it? Half of it, quarter of it?
Approximately half of it.
Okay. Any questions for Paul? If not, thanks.
So-
Yes, Councilor.
What's happening to this? Is this going to finance for a little discussion we're talking about?
This is going to, when it comes up as a motion, it's going to finance. Right now, this is just Paul's explanation of what we're doing.
Before it heads out that door,
Pardon me?
before it heads out that door, that means that something that we don't have that 25, we were going to be budgeting for next year. It's a $50,000 line item?
No, that's one.
It would be a $50,000 lot. The cost is approximately $50,000. We have some requests for proposals out now.
And you want to take 25,000 on this budget cycle?
Right.
Right. It's worth noting, I think, we look back at what the cost was 3 years ago, and it was about 20% higher than what we're expecting this year. So,
Any other questions from the council?
Relative to
Yes.
the choosing of the vendor, how does that work? Does it go through the town manager's office, through the assessor's office?
Well, these are the assessors and two members of the board will review them and just make a choice from there.
Yeah, because if I recall, I think we had some issues with the last
Right.
vendor, so I want to be very careful on our choices.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
Any further question?
Yeah.
Yes, Council.
This isn't gonna be the same firm we had doing our assessing work.
No.
I mean, I know you can't prevent anybody, but geez, that was quite a bad, maybe I'm wrong, but it seemed to be a bad, you know.
That's
well,
from all the reports I got, yeah, so.
Yeah, that didn't turn
I mean, I
out.
don't think anybody was happy with that, but this 25,000 on this side of the budget is sort of disappointing to me, just in light of all the other things. I mean, we have a lot of little $25,000 things coming up, and this one, you know, is an extra
That's me.
bang. I'm just wondering where it's gonna affect us in terms of cash flow to the rest of the year.
We
I
are
can wait
at
till
cash flow for the
finance.
rest of the year, is that right?
Yeah, and we have about 307,000 between free cash and the town council reserve line right now. That's net of the two motions that will likely be referred out to finance tonight, the 25 and the 23. So yeah, I mean, there are issues in this year's budget that need to be resolved. We're gonna have to potentially add some funding for the Veterans Office. Police is going to need some for overtime.
All right, and not to, you know, however you want to get questioned here, but then what can I think about for Parks and Rec? Now, we posted 40 early last year, but that mean, are we gonna see that 40 necessary again next year?
My hope is they won't need, that they'll be able to live within the budget that was voted.
Right.
If there's an issue, keep in mind, they have retained earnings, and it would come from their retained earnings, not from the town's general fund or from free cash.
For next year's budget cycle, are you anticipating budgeting $40,000 for Parks
I
and
do
Rec?
not anticipate. I anticipate Parks and Rec to be self-sufficient without an appropriation from the town. But of
And
course,
that was the plan last year, and that's why we fronted them.
Yeah. And so just one other spot, so when's the drop dead date that you gotta get this thing done? Obviously, it's in 2000, you know, it's after July that it has to be done, but when does it have to be done?
By the end of August, we have a cutoff date of
Yeah,
August
that's
26, 27.
Okay, any further question for Paul? If not, moving on.
Thank you, Paul.
All set,
to-
thank you.
Pardon me?
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Moving on to public comment. Seeing none. Moving on to correspondence. There is none. Committee reports, Finance Committee.
The Finance Committee had met prior to our last meeting and had voted to authorize, to move to the full council the authorization for the middle high school loan order.
Okay. We don't have a comment on that, but we're going with the budget now, and I'll leave that.
I'm going to leave that because we're working on schedule right now. But, well, Council President asked me to do a quick update on the budget. We are starting our budget cycle. The Finance Commission is starting to schedule meetings. There's some preliminary work that's been done, but with the weather and everything going on, seem to had to move some
Slow
meetings
things.
around. Yes, things have been slowed down a
Slowed down,
little,
yes.
but they are working on the bones of the budget for next year.
Thank you. Council Mail, just a quick update on the parking lot. I know that you had a meeting.
Yeah,
with.
we're trying to set up a public meeting for that. We're also, the TIP project, is that considered still a TIP project, or did it get moved to another thing?
It's still considered a TIP project, whether or not it's a whole project, or we do it into two phases now with some transportation bond money and TIP money. It's yet to be decided after that discussion with the manager.
Okay, but one of the regulations is we have to have X amount of public meetings.
That's correct.
So we tried to schedule one, and the days didn't work, so we're rescheduling it. And in that period of time we get that scheduled, we'll have one for the parking lot also.
Okay, thank you. Yes,
We've already had two public meetings on that, right?
We've changed the scope a little bit.
Okay, so they wouldn't count.
It's not that it doesn't count. And I don't think there's an exact number of public outreach meetings that they require. They do want to see an effort to reach the public and get the public's backing for the project.
Thank you.
Are you all set, Counsel? All set?
Yeah.
Thank you. Counsel Lettieri?
The Committee on Committees was supposed to be tomorrow night in regards to the appointments of the Board of Health, but where that was taken up tonight, we're going to postpone tomorrow night's meeting for a day next week, which is yet to be determined. The reason for that is that was the majority of our meeting tomorrow night was the discussion of the Board of Health. Now we are moving into the town manager's evaluation, council clerk's evaluation, town clerk's evaluation, which is going to be due by March 15th. So over the next couple of days, I will email you, like we've done in the past, the town manager's evaluation for each councilor to try to do and submit to me, and I'll have a date prior to our committee meeting for that. And that's it. So there'll be a date posted probably for next Tuesday or Wednesday, but I will get a date out once I meet with the committee members and discuss calendars for everybody. I will get a date out and distribute it tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. Mr. McKenna is on vacation, so he's not here this evening, but I'm going to call upon Joe to just give an update on an item that's coming up under new business, the open space proposal. Joe?
Is everybody tonight?
Good.
So you have before you tonight a request to support the open space and recreation plan that was developed for the town of Winthrop by the Metropolitan Area Planning Council during the past year. As you may or may not know, an open space and recreation plan is required by the state, is required to be submitted and approved by the state in order for us to apply for any kind of grant funds that help us with our parks and open spaces. There was a need when I took the job. We hadn't had one in the town in several years. We were able to get MAPC to agree to use some of their district local technical assistance money this past year to help us complete our plan. Joan Blaustein, a senior land use planner from MAPC, did the plan starting roughly last June. She did 2 public hearings in June and in November, and in between she met with the Conservation Commission, the Planning Board, the Harbor Master, Parks and Rec Department, myself, town manager, did several tours of the town, reviewed our previous open space and rec plan, and drafted a plan that was very good. We revealed the plan at the November 20th meeting, and then we released the draft report and recommendations to the town. The council received it on or about December 12th, and we haven't had any comment on it. There is no need to make any changes since there have been no other comment or requests for edits. The town council, Conservation Commission, and Planning Board all need to author letters of support in order for us to file with the state. There is some urgency in getting this done now because, and I already have the letter of support from Conservation Commission and should be getting it in the next couple of days from Planning Board, because we submitted last week a grant application to EEA to help us with our Coughlin Playground renovation. The council, you've already appropriated a sum of money to do Coughlin Playground, but we have a grant request to add $127,000 of that from the state. It's a grant that we are uniquely qualified to get because we have a city form of government. The state has set aside a certain amount of money in their Our Backyards grant program, and only cities can get it, and every city is entitled to a certain amount of it. So we requested $127,000 on top of what you appropriated to finish Coughlin Playground. But in order for them to approve our application, we're going to have this plan submitted to the state and be approved. So they know that I am waiting on letters of support to submit the final plan. As I said, I've already got the other 2 letters of support, so hopefully you will help us out here and we can get this in right away.
Anybody have any questions for Joe? Nice job, Joe. That's great. That's a big move, and I know we've been pushing for parks work, and Coughlin needs it, and it's significant. Thank you for your efforts, and we will take a vote on the new business to determine whether or not the council approves it. Councilor Mail, you have a question?
No.
Oh, okay. Anybody? If not?
Great. Thanks.
Tim?
A few things, if I may. In your box upstairs is the financial statement audit report, the federal awards audit report, and the management letter that we received from Powers and Sullivan. Jim Powers is available to attend the next council meeting on March 4th, as is Dick Kingston. So hoping that we can get that on the agenda, and they can present the management letter and the audit reports. I will, once I get an electronic copy, I will forward those along to all of you as well. All the budget requests are due in to me by the 26th, which is next Wednesday. And then, as was pointed out by Councilor DeVento, we're working with the Finance Commission to really get the budget process off the ground here. In your inbox are the financial reports through January 31st for revenue, expenses, those special revenue funds, and then I also included a free cash tab there that includes free cash and the council reserve fund within the general fund to show what has been spent to date on that. If you're looking at the financial status on the revenue side, keep in mind it's through January 31st, and the tax bills were due February 3rd. So when I first looked at it, I had to go back and look at when the tax bills were due. So it's reported based on through January 31st, it's 17.4 million on the property tax. But I know as of yesterday or Friday, it was at 18.3 million. So revenues look to be, consistent with prior year on property tax, and the enterprise funds, water and sewer is looking strong on the revenue side. So that's all I have, barring any questions.
So numbers look where you guys have budgeted. The numbers.
Budget to actual on the expense side, for the most part, looks okay. There's a couple of areas of concern that I mentioned earlier. Veterans agent has spoken to me about a need for some additional funds. I know that the police chief is working on an analysis of what he may need as a result of overtime and sick leave. And we're looking at, those are the two big ones. Utilities costs are up across the board, so we're looking at that closely. And Board of Health is another area where we're watching closely. So those are sort of the red flags right now.
No further town managers report?
Question on that?
Yes, go ahead.
Utilities over on the school side, do you know how that's affecting them?
Overall, I know it's up. I'll have to, in conversations with Sue, it's not a budget buster at this point in time, but she is concerned about it.
Councilor Chair.
You had mentioned Board of Health, and you're looking at that. Now, it's pretty close to, was there a position that's going to be posted for, or there is a position that's been posted for clerk for the Board of Health?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Not at this time. It's under review by the town manager. When he returns, we'll certainly sit down with the CFO and discuss that further.
Okay, so there's nothing posted at this time?
No, there was an interim nurse brought in last week or the week before to fill in for Roe, who's been out in Los. So that was the only appointment for the Board of Health that's current. And I haven't seen any advertising. Of course, I'll double check with the Human Resource Director tomorrow morning and email you to confirm that. But as far as my understanding as of today was no, those positions are not posted, being reviewed by the town manager and the CFO for budgetary constraints and modifications if necessary.
All right, thank you.
Tim, thank you for the timely report, this being the 18th of the month, and you already have the report for the month of January. I appreciate that, through the month of January. Thank you.
Good.
Old business.
Can I just ask, is that that Board of Health restructuring note that we got?
Yes.
Have we discussed that? Are we discussing it? Is that a budget thing when?
You mean the Board of Health or the whole?
The conceptual nature of it. Where's that?
It's under new business, we're gonna talk.
Under new business, okay. And I had a question for Tim, but geez, it just slipped my mind, and I'm sorry about that, but,
Okay,
thank you.
you all set?
Well, it'll come back to me, and I'll ask it.
All right, under old business, I know I just read this, but technically I have to read it again.
Do you want me to read it?
The loan order.
Oh, I remembered it.
No, just give me a break.
Technically, the president's supposed to read it for this. We gotta go on this, we gotta do all the steps correct.
I know.
Loan order. That the order of the town council adopted on November 19, 2013, providing funds for the middle high school building project, so-called, is hereby amended in its entirety to provide as follows. That the town appropriates the sum of $80,918,740 for the purpose of paying costs of the so-called middle high school building project, which includes the demolition and removal of the existing high school building and associated facilities at 400 Main Street, Winthrop, Massachusetts, and the design, construction, furnishing, and equipping of a new combined middle high school and related facilities at the same location, including the payment of all costs incidental or related thereto, the project, which school facility shall have an anticipated useful life as an educational facility for the instruction of school children for at least 50 years, and for which the town may be eligible for a grant from the Mass School Building Authority, MSBA. Said amount to be expended under the direction of the School Building Committee. To meet this appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the town manager, is authorized to borrow said amount under Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, or pursuant to any other enabling authority. The town acknowledges that the MSBA's grant program is a non-entitlement discretionary program based on need as determined by the MSBA, and any project cost the town incurs in excess of any grant approved and received by the MSBA shall be the sole responsibility of the town. Provided further that any grant that the town may receive from the MSBA for the project shall not exceed the lesser of 59.97% of eligible approved project costs as determined by the MSBA, or 2, the total maximum grant amount determined by the MSBA, and that the amount of borrowing authorized pursuant to this vote shall be reduced by any grant amount set forth in the project funding agreement that may be executed between the town and the MSBA, or take any other action relative thereto. I have a motion. Motion by Councilor Lettieri, seconded by Councilor Sanford. Is there any discussion on the motion? If not, would we have a roll call? Councilor Cook.
Council Calla.
Yes.
Council Sanford.
Yes.
Council Moncory.
Yes.
Council Barone.
Yes.
Council Lettieri.
Yes.
Council Boyardi.
Yes.
Council Mayo.
Yes.
Vice President Del Vento.
Yes.
President Gill.
Yes. Tim, have we covered the bases?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Moving on to new business. The inspection ordinance services reorganization that was requested by Mr. McKenna. We have a request from him to reorganize. As you know, as councilors, we received the reorganization proposal, and under the Charter, Article 6, we need to have a public hearing on this, and there is reference to Article 6 as to how that process takes place. At this point, I would like to refer this off to a public hearing on 2 weeks from tonight, the regular council meeting. And Council Clerk Denise, would you publish that
Yes, sir.
hearing tomorrow? We have a council vote to approve the open space and recreational plan that Joe Demilowitz proposed tonight. As Joe said, there is some urgency to this, so if we could, I'd like to have a motion to approve the plan.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Councilor Barone, seconded by Councilor Boyardi. Discussion, if not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous, thank you.
Thank you.
Now,
Okay.
do you need a letter from us?
Sure.
Got it.
You got it
Just
right
signed
there.
it.
Okay.
We were prepared.
They said government moves slow. Who
Yeah,
said
that's
that?
right.
I didn't sign
A
that.
motion from the town manager, that the town council appropriate from free cash $23,800 to fund the build-out of the DPW for the restructuring of inspectional spaces, or take any action relative thereto. And I will refer this to the Finance Committee. Next motion, to appropriate $25,000. Sorry about that. Next motion is to from the town manager. He moves that the town council appropriate from free cash $25,000 to fund the assessing department's triannual valuation and take any action relative thereto, and that's the proposal that Mr. Tierney made earlier. Could I have a motion? I'm just going to refer that to finance as well to report back at the next meeting. Still under new business, there was a correct request for 4 transfers regarding a legal settlement for transfers, and again, I'm going to refer that to the finance committee and ask for a hearing, public hearing, that same night, it's 2 weeks from tonight, March 4th.
March 4th, yeah.
And we'll advertise that tomorrow.
Okay.
Anything else under new business? If not, public comment. Seeing
Yeah,
none.
question.
Yes.
So, somewhere over the rainbow, I remember reading about 80 trees going into the budget. So, just because I haven't seen that particular line item, does that make it as though I should send a request to have it on the budget? Or is it just gonna show up there? Because I don't wanna miss the deadline there.
For next fiscal year.
Yeah.
Is that what you're referring
Yeah.
to?
Because somewhere I read that, am I
I'll
wrong?
have to do a little research on that.
Yeah, I think I read that somewhere. That was gonna, I think in the spring, I may have that note down, but I think in the spring it was up on the board. And I just, sometimes I like to shake the cobwebs in case someone forgot about it. But I'm happy to send you a requisition for it, or however you do it, if it's in the appropriate way.
Just how many trees was it?
81.
81. I guess Senator, I guess Councilor Verone is adding one.
I think there's a proposal, if you buy 80, you get one for free.
80 trees.
Okay,
Somewhere.
moving on. Is there any public comment?
No, so I'm just, I know it's out of order, but it's been a great winter, so I figured I'd put him on the hot seat. Steve, you guys have done a great job. I mean, driving around town, and driving around other towns, you can see the difference, but you can travel around just relay to you guys and everybody, guys and gals, I'm not sure if you have any gals, but thank you. I did 20 odd years of snow and ice. I don't miss it at all, and I know you guys are going through, and your family's going through, so.
Thank you. On that item, I had a complaint about this from a citizen about the snow removal, but I had 800 comments in the positive that very much outweighed the one complaint, and I second the sentiments of Councilor Dovento. You guys are doing a great job, and pass it on.
Yeah, and I mean, I think people have to realize, I mean, they're out around the clock,
I know.
24/7.
And the other thing is they have smiles on their faces while they're doing it. I mean, they like what they're doing. It's great, and I commend your leadership. And also a mention of thanks to Jeannie Maggio for the coverage that she did in the DPW, in the Health Department over the last few months, and her many years of dedication to the Health Department. I really appreciate it. Bridget Mulcairn served, I'm not sure if she served 2 terms, but she served on the Board of Health as well. She's moving out of town, so she submitted her resignation, and I'd like to express our appreciation to Bridget as well. On March 1st, the Zinco family fundraiser is coming up. The Zinco family had a tragedy on Thanksgiving Day, and our group that started with the explosion down on Pleasant Street has popped up again, and they're having a fundraiser for them on March 1st. I also, being on the school committee, the liaison from the council on the school committee, this has been a great year for Winthrop High, and most recently we recognized the extracurricular activities. I know that Councilor Mail made a significant donation to the cheerleaders, and they went to the nationals, and they came in 11th in the national competition for cheerleaders for the country. Last night, or the night before last, the girls' hockey team was named the Northeast Conference champs. They will be moving on to the state tournament, and hopefully, when they win the state, they'll move on to the Garden for that play. The boys' hockey has qualified for the state tourney. The girls' basketball is now Northeast Conference South champs, and they will play in the state tourney. The boys' basketball has qualified for the state tourney. And we had a young gentleman, and I'm sorry I don't have his name, who placed in a significant place in swimming. And I'm sorry I don't have his name in front of me. The mock trial is a group that goes and does mock trials, and they have remained undefeated, and they're on a journey toward the state tourney. The elementary band has 113 kids, 4th and 5th graders, that performed their first concert, because we know that music is back in the schools. Sunday Music Matters, who is the group that has brought music back to the schools, had a terrific fundraiser at the Elks. The music was a little loud for those of us who were over 40, but they had a tremendous group there, and it was great. The high school drama club just had another great dinner dance up at the Prince Spaghetti House, and I'm sorry if I left anything out, but Winthrop High School certainly is showing us that they deserve the new building, and it's going to get better and better.
I think we did leave one thing out. The Winthrop Playmakers would really appreciate the support of the town, and, you know, they have a show coming up. I think it's Alice in Wonderland. It sounds fabulous, so please support the Winthrop Playmakers.
Thank you, yeah, because they're looking a little bit of trouble.
Yeah.
Anything else from the council? Public comment? Rich?
So I'd like to commend the fire department for, and actually I guess, Steve, for you too, that Sunday morning my grandfather needed the emergency services. The roads were clear, and they were phenomenal stabilizing them and getting them into the Brigham and Women's Hospital. And I think too often we don't hear enough about what an amazing job all the departments do. And I just want to thank you for what you've done.
Thank you. If there's no further business, entertain a motion from Council Vice President Del Vento for adjournment. Do I have a second? Second by Councilor O'Corey. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
What happened?